Hey, it's day 9, building a startup on YouTube. I had skipped yesterday because I had some other work planned that I had to do, some exciting stuff. We're back at it again today, rounding out the end-ish of week 2 here, where our main goal is to just kind of get some code up and running, I guess. In hindsight, that was the goal. And so we made some pretty good progress. You go to getshuffleboard.com. We have an app up live, and you can log in and log out, and there's even some, well, can you? Yep, there's even some routes, so you can move around, and I find that all very exciting. Plenty of features to build, obviously, lots of stuff to do here, but there's one more thing that I was thinking about it. It really just makes sense to do one more thing here before we get into sort of general feature development. There's one more thing that we really need to get this thing working well, like just as an app, before we can even think about building any kind of feature or styles or anything, and that's just getting this hooked up to a database. Because all of this data we have in here right now just comes from stuff we hard-coded into our app, and obviously when you're building a real website or application or something where people click and they get something depending on what they sort of typed into a form or whatever somebody else typed in, something, you need a database to save all that data somewhere out in a computer somewhere, and then you need your app to get it and put data in there too. And you can do that a lot of different ways. Obviously, the sort of a standard way to have a little REST API, some URL endpoints that the app can talk to, and then there's a backend server there that then talks to a database over SQL. But we're going to do it with Firebase again. Keep it in that Firebase theme. Firebase, Firestore specifically. And if I could pull up my Git or Firefly here. This Firefly, if you haven't seen previous videos, is a web boilerplate for Firebase and React that I made, that I'm sort of, I'm not straight copying everything from this, but I'm heavily inspired by the work I've done previously and pulling things as they make sense from here, just to show that we don't have to relearn everything from scratch. So if we look here and how this works here, let's see, creating your app, connected to the database. Basically, we just have to, we already know that. Basically, we're going to use this thing called Firestore. Let's just look it up here. And basically what it is it's a way to read and write data directly from our database, right from our code in the front end of the app, which is kind of cool. And it's going to require a little bit of setup. And I actually just got an email yesterday from Firebase in one of their marketing emails that said, they're cutting down a tree outside. It said that they just improved some of the querying stuff here. So I'm going to try to structure the database a little bit differently than I otherwise would have. And that might be good or bad. So let's dive in. Pull up my code here. Let's see what we got going on today. I think I usually have this on this side. Does it matter? Nope. Okay. NPM start. So when I originally made Firefly, I hope you can still hear me. When I originally made Firefly, I made a little bit of code to help me interact with this Firestore thing. And then I discovered this package called React Firestore, I believe. Yeah. Ooh, there's a new one? Let's see what's going on with that. Oh, MobX, I don't want to use that. So this is just a package that some friendly person Green Arrow put together, and other people have helped with. And it just basically lets you get data just using React components. And these React components handle all the registering of, it makes it a declarative style for getting your database stuff. So instead of saying on component mount, listen for new Firebase stuff. When Firebase stuff comes in, add it to the state of my app. And when it changes, update it, and all this stuff, basically you just say, hey, this is a provider, or rather, this is a collection of stuff, get this stuff, and you know, show it in my app. It's pretty simple. So I'm gonna get this going. And my goal is to just get something basic from a database showing up here. Okay, so my board's named Sprint Retro. We should show a real set of boards there. So I'm gonna start with yarn add React Firestore. And I know I have to do that. And then what other directions do they have for me here? Pretty sure I already import this stuff, but I do need to import Firebase provider at the root level here. I already did this, I already did this. I do need to wrap this whole deal in a Firestore provider. And I wonder if I shouldn't be doing this, you know, at a lower level than my index.js. Worry about it later. So we have this thing called Firestore Provider they gave us. We pass out our instance of Firebase. And now we have the rest of our stuff underneath it. Oh, you have to do this thing. Collection, okay, and so what we want to show here is a collection. It's going to be all the meetings that we have. And so we're going to do that on our app. So these meetings here, we're going to start showing these from an actual database. We'll call them boards. And we're not going to worry about sort yet. And I do like, this is using something called a render method. I forget what it's called in Firebase, but I'd rather just have it in a different pattern that works like this. And I think I actually was the one who requested a pull request or built the thing that does this in this library, which is kind of nice. I feel like I'm a celebrity. And what I'm actually going to do is just pass it directly in. Is that how it works? I don't even remember. I guess I haven't done this in a little while. How does this thing even work? So let's see how I did it in Firefly. Let's look at our list of posts here. Post list. So I have to import the Firestore collection thing here. So we have a Firestore collection defined. Almost deleted it. Okay, jump error is loading data. Okay. In bracket. So this is now JavaScript in here, and JavaScript is expecting to be passed these variables. So we're going to have a function, and in that function we're going to deconstruct, is that the word? These two things, so that they're ready for us. And I'm not going to return, I'm going to say, instead of this immediate return thing, I'm going to say if is loading, and this is just a style thing, I think. We could have a loading component, but I'm just going to say loading. If. That's all you need to say, I guess. And if it's not loading, I think error, does it pass an error? I believe it does. I have it here. Error is loading data. So if there's an error, we're going to say it broke. Sorry. If it's loading, we're going to say it's loading. If there's not loading and there's not an error, then either we're going to show the data or there's no data, but that's okay, and there's nothing to show. And that's this condition here, if data length is greater. So we're just going to, this is so convenient, I'm just going to have this ready to go. Data. So if our data, if the length, this is going to be an array of data in our collection. So if the length of that is 0, then we're going to say nothing, no boards. There's nothing to show. And if it's not, and we could just show an array of all, we could just use the same thing here, but then it would just show literally nothing. It would be confusing. If there's something here, we're going to show a new thing that says return another div. And in that div, we're going to say, for each of these things, for each of this data, go through it, and there's going to be a board for each one of the, and we're going to show a div with the key as a board ID. That's a React thing. You need to show a key attribute every time you map through something. And then internal link, we don't need any of this. We're just going to say board.content. And none of this is relevant or anything for us. That's the same thing. Snap to list, yep, all the same stuff. We got some bracket confusion here. Okay. Boards. So, under my boards, this should go here. So under my boards, we're going to show all the boards. Really, it's just all boards. Let's not pretend it's something that's not. Error, what is loading data? If error broke, sorry, is loading data. Do I even need a wrapping div around this? I'm not sure. Okay, so what's this actually going to do? Probably not a lot. Oh, it did work. There's no boards yet, nothing to show. And that's because in our database here, we have no boards. We're in dev right now. Database. What do we got? There's nothing here. Let's make one called boards. just as a test. Some auto identifier here, and I'm going to say content is hi mom. So we've got a collection, boards, a bunch of documents, except there's only one. This document's called this, and it's got a field called hi mom. Now let's go back. Are you sure there's no boards yet? Oh my gosh. Hi mom. So what this is doing is it's going through every board and it's showing the content of that board. And so I should be able to just go in and add another board, auto ID, and say it's got some other content. And it's got hi dad. Now we got two of these things. I'm going to rename this to hi mama. Oh my gosh. Back in our app, it's updated. It's good to go. This is the nice thing about Firebase. You just yank it on in, throws it in there. Been at this for like 17 minutes, it's not bad. Got a database up and running. Now, if you're a web developer, you might be thinking, hey Sam, this is a big problem. Because if any front end can just edit anything they want, then anybody can go in and change anybody's data. And that's kind of true. That's because we have these Firestore rules that are checking who can write what. And right now, it's allowing anybody to do anything. That's this piece right here. That means anybody right now can go into our database on any of our servers and read any content they want, any private content, and write any content they want, and that is a massive security issue. Excuse me, and that's not a big deal right now because we don't have any content. I haven't really even told that many people about this thing, so there's really nobody using it. It's not useful, but we want to get this locked down as soon as possible. So we want to write some rules here to keep this basically good. And I want to do that. I'm not sure like what the proper method is, but I want to do that as part of whenever I edit database, whenever I make something to work in the database, I want to start writing rules pretty quickly right away because I don't want to ever like let the rules get out of sync with the database and that let accidentally ship a security hole. I always want to keep these rules up to date. So I'm just going to say, for now, we're just going to say a basic we're going to commit this basic thing. It says connect to Firestore database. I really don't like the way this looks. Leave it for now. Okay, so what changed? We added our React Firestore library. Yarn log changed because we changed something in there. Index now has our Firestore provider, and our app has a list of actual boards. Cool. So about those rules, this is the sort of, not a drawback, but this is where this database stuff gets a little less than like incredibly easy. There's something about I have to do with this database thing. I didn't Firefly. What did I do there? Let's get that taken care of since I saw that it was mentioned briefly. Yeah. This is enabled by default. Great, we don't need this anymore. Good to know. And that would probably show up. Yep, that would show up here. Okay. Nice. All right. Let's take a look at our rules that we did for Firefly. And the rules for who can write what to the database, we have in this thing called rules file. I believe that's what it's called here. And this is going to be very similar to our rules file that we got by default. With a big difference, you can see here it says for this set of stuff, here are all the rules that say what you can do with it. But for this set of stuff, the only rule is anybody can do anything at any time. So matching posts / post. Do we need a default here? I'm not sure. I'm just going to get rid of that. We don't have anything called posts. That's a Firefly thing because it's like a blog by default. But we do have boards. So allow read if true. Right now this means anybody can read any board. But you can only create a board if the request, and this is the request, the database command, .auth.uid, meaning the person making the request matches the thing that they're trying to create's author. So basically you can only write board to the database that says it's by you if you're who you say you are. That's good. Allow update, delete. I don't want to allow deletes at all right now. I do want to allow updates if you are the person who made the board. And I think I also just only want to allow reads if the same thing, if you should only be able to read your own boards. Request out. So I'm not sure, I think it's the same style as that. So this is going to lock it down. This means you can only read your own boards. You have to have a created by attribute on your board. So let's do a test. I'm going to give this one a created by. And the string is going to be my user. I guess I'll do this one. So now it's created by me. Mom doesn't have anything that she was created by, so there's nothing created by here. So basically what this means is when I push this, these rules, and they only work when they're on the server, so you have to run npm run dev to get these to work. I should only see some of this stuff, or I should only be allowed to see some of this stuff. So it'll either restrict it, or I think what it'll actually do is break, because I'm trying to request access to all boards, and I don't have access to some of those boards. So what I'm anticipating that I'll need to do is go into here, where this path is, this thing, and add a filter, using the way that this library uses it. So what did they say? Path stories. No, I want a filter. Filter, okay, yeah. So I'm going to say filter, first name, for us it's created by, equals user.uid. So this is like a user, my auth user. It's really my auth.uid. And it's giving me a red underline here. It was. Oh, shoot. Oh, it just automatically imported it, that's why. Because auth isn't a thing here, so I need to actually show my logged in user. And how do I get my logged in user? Well, we already have that. We built this thing called Firebase auth. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Just gonna copy all this. There's got to be a better way. But for now, we're just going to say this. If not auth, return basically, I'm going to check for people logging in. Under their boards, we're going to check if they're logged in and return some errors if they're not logged in or there's some other issue. And then we're going to return all this if there is no issue with login. So now this auth thing is actually an auth thing. Now we actually have access to that variable. Broke, sorry. Oh, have to run this, huh? Nice, so look, it's only asking for the ones that I made, and that's one I made. It's not showing mom anymore. Now, if I were to add my same thing to mom, it would work. So this means that we can all have a lot of different boards in Shuffleboard, but when anybody logs in, they're only going to see the boards that are relevant to them, and that's a really important thing, obviously. So let's see what would happen if I get rid of this filter, just for fun. It broke. And that's because what that broke is showing up here because there's an error. In fact, let's say this. Instead of saying it broke, sorry, let's return the error. And we can see what that's going to be by just putting debugger here. So we've got an error here, permission denied. So we're just going to say code. We know that it has a code, so we're going to say error.code. All right, so now let's try it. It broke, sorry, permission denied, meaning we're trying to access stuff we don't have access to. So now let's put our filter back and say, well, hey, we're not trying to get everything. Relax. We're just trying to get the stuff that belongs to us. That passes the rules. Hi, Dad. Cool. Hey, that went pretty well. So, code is getting a little messy here. I hate all this stuff. Just all this different boilerplate right up front. Sometimes I think it's better to have like maybe a separate file here, like a app container file that just takes care of all this messy stuff. And then for loading all the things you need, and then just a separate one. And this is a common React pattern. And then another file underneath that just shows the stuff you actually want to show. We could even get ready for that pattern by just saying, right now, if you're not logged in, for example, watch this. It's going to say you must be logged in to see this page, but it's still going to show all this up top because it's above. It's above this stuff. But I'm going to move it in actually. How about this? Well, I mean, I would do it right now, but if there's no boards, or if it's, I still want them to show. Let's see, what should I do? How about this? I can do it this way. think that should work. And now we don't even need this wrapper div. So this is just getting us ready to pull this out to another file later, just keeping it clean. So first thing we do is all the getting to the data stuff. And then once we have it, then we show the main stuff here. We gotta log in to see this page. That's all we see. Once we do log in, it's loading. Then we see all this stuff, hey boards. And if we get rid of this board, it says no boards yet. Great. All right, let's do it. I'm not even going to say that we added rules in this commit, because every time we make a commit that requires a rules change, there should just be rules updated in the commit. But I used to do it that way. All right, guys, this is cool. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and wrap up some more stuff on this guy. Well, the damn screen recording broke again. I could just strangle QuickTime right now. There's got to be a better way. But that's okay. I'll go and show you what I did real quick in our app. Basically, when I was going through and doing all that, I went in and I made some changes to our app.js here. The first thing I did is I went into our index and we added this Firestore provider from React Firestore, which is here. This is the Firestore provider. We also wrapped our entire app in that here, and then in our app itself, this is the code we added. Firebase auth, which you're a little familiar with because we did it before. So if we're basically, when you go to the app, we're checking if you're logged in, and if you're not logged in, we say you got to be logged in to see the page. Then we are pulling in a Firebase collection. We're only pulling the collection of boards that have been created by my auth UID, which is the identifier we use for a person in our app, a user. And if that breaks, we show a different error message, and if that's loading, we show another error message. And then if it's working, we show a message about shuffleboard and all the stuff that goes on the page. And then it includes a thing that says, or if there's no boards, we show this message, and if there are boards, we map our boards and show the board content for each board. And the key here thing, this is just a React thing. And we also wrote some rules. It said you can only see a board if you're the person who made the board, and you can only create a board if you're the person who is creating the board, and you can only update a board if you're the one who created a board. So that's what this looks like here. And the result, so I don't need this one, maybe not this one either yet anymore. The result is this. Look, it says you have no boards yet. I can log out. I got to log in to see this page. I can log in again. I got no boards, I assume. It's taking a moment. The auth is still loading here. There we go. So now the auth is loaded. Now it's loading the database. Wow, that is slow. Hopefully that's just a development. Oh my gosh. Our browser crashed. No, it didn't crash. Computers are really screwing me today. That one was faster. Good. No boards yet. And we can go in and we can create a board that has my user ID, which is what? now it's going to show this board. So that's all well and good. Now we need to make it so that you can add data, not just show data. I think that's the next logical step. So I'm going to show a list of our boards, and let's make an add board link. I'm not sure exactly what order I should do this in, but I'm just going to think out loud as I go. Okay, so there's going to be an add board link, but we don't want a form. We want to take people to the stage where you're running it. So I think we need to have like a board. Let's just call it a board view for now, and it'll be the same as the participant view. It'll be the same as the runner view. It'll just be a thing called board. Okay, so I'm going to save this file and make a new file called board. This is our board page. You're going to want to log in to see this board. Okay, instead of a Firestore collection, we're going to get a Firestore document. Because I did do that React Firestore thing. And this is just going to show path. Does the same thing, except instead of getting a lot of things, it just gets a single thing. So how do I reference it? So basically what I need to do is, when we're showing a board, we're going to show just a single board. We're going to show its content. It doesn't work. So we're gonna, instead of just showing a list of boards, we're actually gonna link you to a specific board page. And to do that, we need to add it to the router here. I think this is how you do it. Board ID, board. We need to tell the router about this page. Board is not defined. So it's not the data ID here. We're going to get that once we load it. But we need to show the route. We need to get this based off the route we went to. So let's go to Firefly. Let's see. What do we do here again? I forget what you pull. It's like source or something. It's like query.params or something. So let's see if I go to views and see what a single post looks like. Pull in collection. It's a little different here. Match.params.slug. And match is the thing that's going to come into this page from our router. Let's see what happens. Okay, hi mama. This is going to take us to boards/that down at the bottom of the screen there. So now we're on boards/that, and it does not do it. I think it might be because it's matching this first. Let's try that. Nice, okay. Now we're on board/this, and we can see the code. It's very good. And if I go to here, same board, different content, go back to our boards, see our foobar bass board. Nice. Anything I need to update before I commit this? Nope. All right, I'm going to stop the video just in case there's a screen recording problem. Be right back. Okay, we're back. So we've got our boards here, board here. I want to edit this board. So I'm going to make a form here that when this changes, we edit the board with the update. Just to get the basics of this stuff down. And if I go to Firefly here in our source, our actions, we're going to see that there's, ignore subscriptions for now, but anything to do with posts here, we have the ability to create a post, delete a post, we're not going to worry about that. Like and unlike, we're not going to worry about an update post. So we're going to make these actions here. We're going to need update and create. We'll start with update. So basically what this is going to do, we're going to do the same thing for a board here. Let's create a new action. We're not going to use any of this GA. GA stands for Google Analytics. We're not doing that right now. Post, everywhere it says post, it needs to say board. It's a hacky way of doing it. Pair dog for update. We'll get to that in a second. So when you update a board, you're going to pass some values that you want the board to be updated with. And we're just going to say here is, hey, Firestore, go to boards, get the board ID we told you about, update it with the values. If there's an error, tell the user that there is an error. And that's it. Pretty basic. So what we want to do is when something gets changed here, we're going to update the board. And I'm super lazy, so I just like copy the actions from other places, and I think there's a better way to do that. I'm just going to do update board there, but we won't worry about it right now. let's figure that out. How do I do that? And create React app, root, import. Is that what it is? I'm trying to like, oh yeah, I looked this up before. Absolute imports with create React app. Da-da. I want to just get it from the, see all this stuff is the stuff I hate. This is going to only get worse when we have more folders. Set an environment variable node path to source. And then what, how does it work after I do that? Looks like that. Okay. Well, I have one of those already. Let's just throw it in, see what happens. So if that worked, I should be able to do this. And this will still show an error because we're not doing anything with that. Still seems to work. Okay, let's update everything while we're at it. Nice, let's get rid of this. This is in views. Nothing. Views. Sometimes I just put a new line here between the ones I'm pulling in from NPM packages and the ones that are my own. Let's do a quick search for this. Oh yeah, so that's going to be a thing. We'll worry about that in a minute. Oh, I'm doing it here. Nice. Okay, so a few things changed. Index. Don't want to add that yet. That one goes. Oh, we don't want to worry about that yet. Layout. Yes. Router. Yes. We don't want this, but this one is what we do want. Okay. What's that called? Okay, so now we need to look up React forms because I want to make this a text area, and when it changes, I want the content to be updated. and I know what to do when it changes. I can update the board here, but I don't know how to do that. I think I did know how to do that, but I forget how to do that in React. So right, text there. So what we want to do is we want to say I'm going to make a new component for this. I'm going to say input box. I would just call it input, but there's a thing in HTML called input. I don't want people to get confused. And by people, I mean me. App. And it should also be called board. Okay, so our input box is going to be just a text area. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff. That'll be in the parent. My computer's humming along. If this isn't recording right now, I'm going to be pissed. So I think the way React does it is it just makes this a text area too. Value is going to be it's going to be this .stick.value. Just say nothing for now. No, it should just be this. On-change does not handle change. I think it's just like that. Or maybe it's this. How do you do this? What am I supposed to do with that? Yeah, looks right. So now I don't need this anymore. I just need an input box. Or board equals data. And what is an input box? We need to tell it. So that's looking good, but this is still messed up. Oh, I think I just do this. screwed up here? Oh, maybe I need to actually make it a class, huh? I thought that's how you did this. Hey, it finally is sort of pretending to work. Okay. So we've got an input here. When I type something, what happens? Some weird stuff. Okay, so handle change event, event.target value. That's what we want. So what this is going to do is it's going to show a text area, and it's going to say the value. This is always going to be our state value, which is this, which is the content that comes from the board. And when something changes, when somebody types in this, handle that here and get the event from that change, which has a value attached to it, and update our board with that value. Now, I could say, you know, every once in a while update the board, and then, you know, also simultaneously update the state of our value here. But Firebase should be fast enough so that when I type it in, it's going to immediately update the state in Firebase on our actual board. Firebase will worry about syncing it to the background. I think that'll just work. So let's see here. Nope, not working. Let's just see what's going on. So it's getting my typing and updating board. Actually, it's not update board. What do I do in Firefly? Default value. Maybe that's what I need. So this only happens on submit, so this is going to be a little different. What is that though? No, I think I want a controlled component. That's not a thing. So let's see if we're updating the board right. Updating the board, that's our board. With the content, we're adding food.d here, that's good. So what's our database showing? Oh, it does show food empty. So I can do, if I type X here, it's not showing up here, but it is sending a message to update to the database. The database does get the X. So what am I screwing up? It's not updating on the form. It's not coming all the way back. Maybe I just do need this. Wait, why do I even have state? Is this all I'm using it for? Let's get wild. So that's working, but every time I refresh the page and it re-renders, it shows nothing here. Oh, default value. Is that it? Will that just do it? Hey, look at that. I think that does it. This is my board. Back to shuffleboard. My boards. It's all there. Hey, look at that. Good stuff. Didn't even need the state. So this is a simple thing. An input box, which is a React component, it just renders the text area with the default value of the board content that I got. And when it changes, it runs this function. And the function just simply says, update the board that we got when this thing was initialized with the value that we got from the event. And it's simple as that. So what did we actually change to get this to work? We have a new file called update board. And we're going to do this stuff in a minute. Not right now. Keep it clean. We have a board. All right. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording again just in case, because it sounds like we're having some trouble. Be right back. All right, we're back. A couple things I want to do before we wrap up this little section here. I want to be able to create a new board. So let's do that. We've got our update board. Let's make a new one that says create board. And I'm going to steal from Firefly, but it's super simple. It's not even really worth doing, but I might as well. So there's a lot of stuff in Firefly that's to do with posts, slugs, and things, which are little shortcuts. We might do that later, but we're not going to even worry about any of that right now. Or this prepare.create. Look, all this stuff, not necessary. No, we don't need it, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it. All we really need is this little guy here. Very similar to above. Instead of collection post doc, get the doc, and then update it, we're just going to add it with values. And we're going to return this thing with values, just in case anybody who's creating this board needs that later. I want to return the ID though. Well, this might break. I mean, it won't break, but like, it might not work. We might need to add to it. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to create board. Now, when I go to my app, I want to hit a button that's going to create a board and take me to that new board. Oh, there's no values that we're passing. We don't really need this. This doesn't do anything at this point. I want to do this history dot thing and take us to the actual board page. I want to, I want to do this like this. Create board. On click, create board. Then new board. So one, we don't have any history here, but this is our app home screen. So it should have history from the router. So that should solve that. History.push, is that even how that works? Didn't we do it somewhere else? I think that's what it is. Oh yeah, we tried it before and it didn't work. Let's see if it works this time. I don't think it was related. Create board. Push. So the problem is that this thing I'm getting back when I create a board needs a board ID for this to actually work. And so just Firebase. What is add? We need to go into documentation and figure this deal out. So the guides are like little tutorials, but the reference is like the real deal. Firebase, Firestore, collection reference dot add, I think is what I'm calling. And so what does this return? Returns promise of a document reference. Dope. So I think it should just work. Let's see. Didn't do anything. Whoop. Collection reference add requires one argument. It was called with 0 arguments. Yeah, I didn't call it with anything. So let's just, for now, we're just going to say some dummy content. We'll do that. Change me. Couldn't create post, missing or insufficient permissions. So our database is saying you don't have permission to add this, and that's because we made a rule that said create. You can create it if your ID is the same as a created by here, and the created by is nothing. This created by is, we haven't set that when we create this thing. So we need to set that. And that's what this other helper stuff was doing. let's just show what the helper is, and we're just going to build it manually here. Basically what this just does is it says, when you're going to update a doc or create a doc, just add a couple extra things. Add a variable called created by and created on, you know, and then when you're updating a doc, also do created on and updated by, and also sometimes it'll update with the ID. We don't want to actually save that, and this one we're not really worrying about right now. So I'm going to actually finally import this here. In our actions, I'm going to create a new little folder, helpers. I'm going to make them two separate files. That seems to make a little more sense to me now. Yeah, actually, in hindsight, maybe not. They're so similar; they should probably stay together. So basically saying, if you're making something, if there's a user, set that current user, the created by to the current user's user ID. And if there's no current user, then say it was created by null. I'm not sure actually that would even work, but we'll just assume that that does work. And we have to rename this. What are we calling this? Firestore helpers. I guess this whole thing would be going faster if I didn't go through this code, but I think it's been a while since I looked at it, so it helps me. And I think it's also helpful if you're watching to see like what exactly is going on. So this should just work. And to make this work, we just have to wrap whenever we do something as an action, like update our board. We just need to pull in our thing here. In this case, it's going to be prepare doc for create. And we just need to wrap, instead of values, raw, we need to wrap this here like this. Values is going to be empty. So we don't need created by anymore because that's going to be taken care of for us. And it's not going to say it's empty anymore, so we don't even need this content. Do I need to do like this? Maybe not, we'll see. And we should just update this while we're at it. Okay, so I'm just going to create a commit that just says add helpers here. So all that we're actually going to commit is this file and the update we did here. So add created by and created. That's good enough. Helpers that created by and created on. Attributes. Cool. Now that we've got that going, creating is going to be a little easier. We'll be able to create. We're going to get an ID back. We shouldn't get an error. because we're adding our created by attribute to it. Let's find out. Nope. Created by unassigned. Why is doc undefined? Prepare doc for create. Oh, because we're not passing anything. I guess I did need to do this. Let's try it now. Okay, so it's not letting us do it. Prepare doc for create, isn't that giving us a created by? Let's see what this doc that we're about to send to this thing looks like. It's got to create a by. It's got to create it on. J-A-Y, is that me? Yep. Now, why wouldn't that be passing the rules? Are our rules updated? Yes. You might just be watching a video of me staring at a screen for a while. Prepare yourself. Because I don't know if I have a lot of clues for this one yet. Create. Let's do the simulator. Posts. It's posts. It's not supposed to be posts. There's no rule that allows you to create any post, that's why. Cross your fingers. Hey, new board. Look, I just made a new board called this. Created by, created on, and now it's also updated by and updated on. Because when we typed in it, our update board function was called, and the update values were wrapped in this prepare doc for update. And that prepare doc for update sets updated by values as well. So we know who is the last person to edit it, not just the person who made it. Ooh, good stuff. If I go to boards, I could do this all day. I could create a board, debugger. We don't want that debugger in there. What is this? Here we go. So I can go to my boards, I can say, this is my board. I'm going to go to this board, clean it up. I'm going to create a new board and say, look, here we go. And they're all just going in there. And I can do this all day. So, I mean, eventually each of these boards is going to have multiple of these inputs, right? This is just a thing to get us started. That's very exciting. So now we can go in and edit boards. Right now you can only edit boards that you create yourself. That's going to have to be something we change. And obviously we're going to want to make it so that you can add more items to each board, and then we're going to want to add steps to each board. But that can all come later. I think we've got the basic piece working here. So I'm going to add this git commit this button, creates a board, sends you to the board. Simple enough. Create board, and just creates a board. That's all it does. Ready to commit. Dope. Update. One thing I think we might want to do is clean up what this, when you go to a board, this has got the same layout here, and I don't think I want it to have the same layout as everything else. I want it to sort of take over the screen. And I hesitate to get into too many visual things right now. Like I keep this super minimal, just ugly as hell as long as I can so I don't get distracted by that. But I'm actually getting a little confused by what this page is, and I'm having trouble remembering what wireframe it goes with. So I'm gonna just maybe take this opportunity to do that so I just have a little bit more sanity, and I don't have to think too hard to use the app. And I think that's also gonna give us a good chance to organize our views a little bit, because there's getting to be a lot here, and I think we might want to just clean it up and get them into some subfolders. So let's do that. I'm going to create a new folder here called underscore layouts. And I only call it underscore. I use underscore so that it goes on the top of any other folders we have, because they're sorted alphabetically. I'm going to a new folder called marketing, which is going to be all the things related to our marketing website. And a new folder called app, maybe. I'll think of a better name. And a new folder called presenting. And so these folders are going to contain just sections of components that have to do with the high-level sections of our wireframe. There's a home page you get to that you can go before you have to log in, and that's all marketing stuff, and that's what this home is. So I'm going to put this home in marketing, and it might offer to update it for me. No, it didn't. So I got to go to the router and tell it, hey, listen, views, marketing, home is where this lives now. App, it's going to go in app, and these are just things related to once you're actually using the app, preparing for a board. I'm just going to do it myself right now. I don't know. I don't trust it. Ooh. Where are we doing this? Okay, so app's there. Presenting is going to be board. That's the presenting mode, which I like. And input box is going to go along with it. And these names are all subject to change. You can easily change them later, it doesn't matter. Layout is going to go into layouts. This auth is like a helper. Maybe I'm just going to create a new level on this folder called source. Action, styles, views. I'm going to call it utility, or util for short. It's just what I'm familiar with using. So who are all the people who use Firebase auth? And by people, I mean files. That's the file itself. That's its new house. That's where that lives now. And that's where that lives now. Presenting board. So I'm still having a trouble with this presenting board. Views input box, views presenting. You know, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to say this is related to this, so I'll just use that style. What does that do? Okay, so this is all working again. So now our views, you know, we don't have to worry about that most of the time. Our views are a couple views: layout, app, marketing, presenting. This is helping me just get a little organized. And usually we'll be probably working in mostly just one of these folders often. And let's just make sure everything still works. Yeah, it seems to work. So Git recognizes that these were all renamed. We changed the router so that it's finding some new stuff, and then we renamed these files to new things. And renaming, they're the same name, they're just in a different place. So I'm going to say add basic view folder structure in views. Great. So now these layout situation, I want to make this presenting board. I don't want to make the same layout. I want to make a new layout for boards. So this is a layout that shows, you know, our menu, our footer, and everything. I'm going to make a new layout that's going to be board layout, or I'm just going to call it takeover. I'm going to call it takeover layout. It's not going to have a footer. It's not going to have any of these horizontal rows. And it's not going to have this top bar either. What it will have is a close button. I'm going to give it some inline styles just to make it real visible. Now, 2 rems, you might say that's huge, and that's true because I'm not actually going to use close, I'm going to use an X. And I'm going to say that's a little tough actually, isn't it? I'm not going to do it yet. Maybe we should just not have this at all for now. It's going to be simpler. Just so we can see if this thing works. Ah, what? We're not doing that to layout, not takeover? What? Didn't mean to do that. So now this layout is appearing over everything. Every root gets this layout because the layout contains all the roots. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to just put those on the pages I want to put them on. So I'm just going to remove it from here and add them individually. Not to presenting, but to marketing, yes. Although this might get a different layout entirely itself. To app, for sure. We don't need this here anymore, but we do need it in marketing and app. And let's rename it, because that's really what it is. It's the app layout. Let's see what we got. Shuffleboard home, same thing. Go to our boards, same thing. Click on a board. Clean. It doesn't say takeover. I was expecting it to. Maybe if I type it louder, the computer will hear me this time. That never works. It's actually because we just haven't added it to the thing here yet. I like this automatic thing, but I'd rather it didn't do a relative. Nice. So when we want to start a board, we can click on a board and we'll get to this separate layout. It's a little bit different. And what I'm going to do with this takeover, I'm going to bring this back and we're going to say, there's no big heading here, but you can close this takeover. What happens when you do that? Well, let's just start with the basics. Hey, look, close me. Nice. And what do we really want to do? I'm just going to avoid the responsibility of figuring out where I should go, but I'm just going to know that I have to do something. So to get this to work, I have to wrap this whole thing in a root or something. I think actually I can just do import with root from router DOM. Is it with route? I don't remember. This is probably deprecated, but it just works. That way it's just going to give us, I think it's with router. And that's just going to give us access to this history stuff. So now we know we're actually going to get something called history here. And previous screen is going to come from when we use this thing. What is a previous screen? What should it be? React router. Oh. And what should this previous screen be? Let's just tell it. Boards. And the last thing I'm going to do, just to make this feel like a thing you can click, is this. Ooh, brutal. I'm going to board/boards. Where is it? Gotta go to the root. Boards. Run a board. My board. Boom, boom, boom. Nice. So this is our presenter mode. This is like kind of close to our wireframe a little bit. Definitely getting there. Ooh, I gotta get going here. My morning is running out. It's late. Let's get this committed and call it a day. A lot of stuff happened here, I feel like. What went down in this commit? We updated our router. Multiple layouts. That's a big deal. So we split layouts into use different layouts for different screens. So it's gonna, there's a lot of things that I'll summarize it in a minute. That'll be up here. But new takeover layout, main layout only applies to some screens. What else did we do? I guess that's it. That's good. We have small commits. So the summary is just let's put it up on stage. Take her for a spin. Ooh. See what's up with that. What's it called? Base URL. What is this thing? Keep telling me about it. What is it? Oh, this isn't a create React app thing. That makes sense. All right, well, let's give it a shot. Our stage isn't up. Never been to overs. Ooh, gotta log in. Nice, we'll probably add a button there eventually, right? There's no boards. I'm gonna create one. There we go. Just took a second. Ooh, alright, so our stage deploy went well. Last thing we're going to try is this little guy. Base URL. What's it called? Did that. Well, it seems I haven't horribly broken it by doing that. But can I get rid of this file is a real question. Probably should have just straight up deleted it. Nope, I can't. Well, can I undo that? Nope, I can't. And it's not under version control because it's top secret. What was it? Well, this is gonna have to wait for another day. It's just a warning anyway. I can't believe it. Google knows what I'm talking about. Node path. Oops. How's everything broken? Broke everything at the last minute. Oh. I feel like a lot of the skill that you learn in programming is just learning to pay a lot of attention to the order of little detailed little icons. Like you got to be able to see, you have to build, one of the skills, like the chops you have to build up is just the ability to see missing semicolons and similar stuff, you know? And that can be really discouraging for folks, because if you're used to that, you can just do that quickly. But if you aren't, you can't. Okay, this is running. We got it up on stage. It's an app that you can add things to and edit things on with a database, and it's secure, and it's got a good folder structure with multiple templates. You know, we have some more security stuff to build. Like, we have to do stuff like make it so that, you know, only anybody can in your organization can edit a meeting. Anybody in a meeting can edit the meeting. There's lots of stuff like that we have to work on. Obviously, a lot of styles. But this is we're getting pretty close to having like the basic thing that works crappily, that we just need to add, you know, features to. Like, there's that first main just base layer you got to lay down. You got to lay the foundation down. And this foundation is getting pretty close. So that's exciting. I got to roll. But pleasure spending this time with you. I'm by myself. And shuffleboard, team shuffleboard, right? I'm excited. See you soon.